Dominic, the reason why I wanted you here is because we have met several times.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you have been in so many different types of spiritual circles, and yet I know so little about you. Everybody knows you, and they know what you do, but I want to know what you do. I want to figure you out, and I want to take it back to the beginning. Tell us who Dominic is.
Wow, back to the beginning.
When you were just a young pup.
When I was just a young pup. Well, all right. I was born in Melrose Park, Illinois, Gottlieb Memorial. Raised in Bolingbrook. I was raised Catholic. Kind of explains a lot, probably. As a young man.
What'd you say?
What'd you say?
I said it's a route to go. Never mind.
Oh, of course it is.
God damn it,
As a young man, after high school, I joined the military.
Oh, okay.
At that point in time,
What branch?
Army.
Okay.
I was having a crisis of faith at that point.
Sure.
And I connected one of my closest friends when I was in, kind of turned me on to learning about some more nature-based faiths. Our shared ancestry was Welsh, so I kind of started learning a bit about Welsh Druidry. Just kind of started studying with the Order of Bards, Ovids, and Druids. They used to do, correspondence courses, so you could learn about the mythos and everything. From there,
Did you see my post that I recently went to the Druid monument?
I did.
Yeah.
I missed it. That was for the Samhain thing last
Yes.
Sunday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Chris Sherbach, man, that guy's wonderful.
He was awesome.
he's-
We met him, Rob, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's done one or two of like the rituals at Greater Chicagoland Pagan Pride,
Okay.
which always great. The Wild
Yeah.
Onion, definitely good group. So I started learning about Welsh Druidry. Kind of started expanding at that point. Kind of viewed myself, I guess, a little more as like an omnist. Kind of learning a little bit about Buddhism, a little bit about Wicca, Druidry, all of the conglomeration of paganism and other non-Christian type things, just so I could understand, how
You were on
other
a
have
journey.
lived. I definitely was, and that started in my early 20s. What stuck mostly was the pre-Christian faith of my ancestors, and for a long time, I view myself pretty much as a solitary druid. For a long time, I over the course of time connected with some other groups, and unfortunately, as some of us may know, with groups there's so many different personalities, so many different types of people. One person wants something, another person wants something else.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone wants to do the work. So I've been part of some groups that fell apart, some that are still going strong. It just wasn't my thing. I've been a spectator, I guess I could say, in a lot of different circles in the Chicagoland area. During
Well, more than a spectator, you were a participant.
spectator, participant.
Yeah.
There's a lot of circles I've gone to and I only went to once.
Okay,
You
got
know,
it.
but, I mean, you don't always find exactly what you need, So,
Yeah.
I bid farewell to a lot of places, just as many as I graced with my presence, So,
Mm-hmm.
kind of found out what worked for me. For a long time, it was pretty much really solitary, trying to connect with others, but I kind of kept a little more solitary with the practices. I used to go to some like meet and greets, lunches, pagan lunches. I think the first one I found after I got out of the military, we're talking like 97 or so, was Church of Whitefire up in Wheeling, I think, or so.
Church of Whitefire?
Church of Whitefire, I think, is what it was called. I can't remember. This was 25 some odd years ago.
So they're not around anymore, huh?
No, I don't think so. If they are, they might be called something else. I haven't
Yeah.
heard of them since I've become a little more prominent in a lot of the more bigger communities, as far as like Pagan Pride and stuff like that. But, I never really went and practiced with them.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a couple of their meet and greets. I think they used to have like a Sunday brunch at some restaurant somewhere, and I met with some people. A couple of them seemed really cool. A couple seemed, in every community you're going to have hardliners. You're going to
Yeah.
have, people that are free as a butterfly and willing to kind of lend their good energy where it needs to be, and other people that it's got to be by the numbers, by the book. Everything is this way, that way, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of why I kind of just kept sticking to my own.
Yeah.
Probably 10 years ago or so, I was connected to another circle. It was really kind of a beautiful thing for a while, and there started being the typical too many people stirring the pot kind of thing, and
right.
kind of stepped back at one point, stepped back away.
What kind of group was that?
That was another pagan, eclectic pagan circle.
Okay.
I lent as much energy as I could to the place, and in hopes to help out and help others learn, and just I wasn't getting a whole lot more out of it. So you have to go where you're getting what you need fulfilled. During that time frame, I reconnected with, of all people, the principal of the elementary school I went to. This woman knew me since the 70s.
Okay.
And it was a village picnic in Bolingbrook. There was a native flute circle, a bunch of people. And everybody was like, oh, God, this is boring, half asleep. And I was absolutely enthralled. And I'm like, hey, that's Miss Smith. I know her. I've known her since she knew me since kindergarten.
Would you mind talking a little closer to the mic, please?
Talking a little closer to the mic. So it was a flute circle performance that most people wanted nothing to do with, because it was, a hip happening kind of summer picnic, and it was, it must be break time. There's not a band on. So I paid attention. She's like, hey, I teach these. And I talked to her afterwards. She's like, I teach this at the library.
Yeah.
I didn't take it the first year. The second time I saw him, I'm like, okay, I got to do this. So I went, started learning from her how to play, the native flute. We kind of started talking, reconnecting, because, we've known each other, like, most of my life,
Right.
And she's like asking me kind of some of the same questions, what's your path like? What have you been doing? What is it that you believe in? And I kind of explained everything to her, like Celtic, nature-based, this stuff of my ancestors. And she's like, I know some people you might be interested in talking to. Let me get your email address. She gave it to her, and within a couple of weeks, I got an invitation to lodge, like you've just recently done, Sweat Lodge,
right.
in Ipi ceremony. And I went once. I haven't stopped going. It's done beautiful things for me. It's kind of helped keep me in life where I need to be.
Yeah.
It's kept me humble. I've been willing to lend a little bit more energy since that. I've kind of sat on some boards with indigenous community organizations, to help repatriate artifacts to their prospective tribes.
Well, yeah, you do a lot of work with Native American groups, right?
I definitely do, and they're my relatives now.
Yeah.
I still am involved with Greater Chicagoland Pagan Pride. Shout out to all my people there, Matt, George, Twyla, all of you guys. I love the work we do. Every year we have a big picnic in Chicago. Also, shout out to Northwest Indiana Pagan Pride. Ron, we got you, bro.
I presented at that one.
I know you did.
Yeah,
I know you did. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. Of
Yeah.
course, I had another ceremony.
See, that's why I
and
didn't
stuff
go
like
well,
that.
because you weren't there.
Yeah, exactly.
just-
It's all good. But
The next one.
so I've got a big mouth, so I became their communication director.
That honestly, that's awesome, because you don't even come from that kind of background. You come from a Celtic, Druid, pagan background, and now you're helping them.
Oh, I was talking about Greater Chicagoland Pagan Pride.
My bad.
I'm
I
their
thought
communication director.
Oh, well, that's cool too.
And I'm working on. We're probably going to talk about another interview, because I am working on a program where I can kind of go out into the community and start interviewing some of the other leaders of some of the other circles. I've got a couple names that I'm already looking into and kind of setting things up to go interview
Well, what's the
them.
goal for that?
the goal for that is to get people that follow the Greater Chicagoland Pagan Pride, like community, Facebook, website, where we can share some of the information from some of the other circles. Wild Onion, we've got, Mambo, J. She's part of like the voodoo community. There's Santeria. There's a lot of, other than just pagan people that come together with, these communities, because, we all kind of fall under the same kind of non-Christian, so we've had, what was her name? I forgot the other. There's another community person. I know, Laura Gonzalez. Like, I'm probably gonna talk with her if she sees this. Keep me in mind. Just so people can see introductions.
Yeah.
What is it that you guys do? A breakdown of each one of these organizations. What their key, beliefs are, because some people are just venturing into this. We didn't have, I didn't have 30 years ago a lot of people to talk to, and I was going to Borders and the library trying to just hit occult bookshops to learn more, because we didn't really even have the internet back then, so when I first started learning. So now we've got the Parliament of World Religions. We've got all of these other resources, and I'd like to bring, some showcase of certain people to the community, because people will see, I kind of seen that guy somewhere, but I don't know what he does, or that person, so, being able to get them a little more to the forefront. People have probably seen Chris from Wild Onion a couple times at Pagan Pride, but really don't know who he's associated with, other than, hey, I kind of saw something and he did a really, nice ritual for, closing or for opening. I'd like to work on getting some of those people a little more to the forefront, so people can understand a little bit more.
I think that's great, because when I was at the Samhain ceremony, I was vaguely familiar with the DOAD. Is that DOAD? Am I saying that correct?
DOAD. ADF.
No. The one that Chris is part of.
That's ADF, isn't it?
It's it's the Ancient Druidic Order of something.
I'm not sure. I thought that was a Druid Fellowship group. I guess we could be wrong.
I could be wrong. You know what? I'm wrong.
I want to say Wild Onion was Arendrachfain, which is the Celtic, for the Druid Fellowship, and that's a national organization, and they're like a local Nemeton or grove,
right? But the monument is part of.
Oh, the monument! I've not been to the monument, so I really don't know.
So the monument is
about.
That's actually part of another Druid Fellowship.
Oh, okay,
yeah, and they're called, Rob. What's the name of it? The Ancient Druidic Order. Yeah. Okay. Well,
we'll have to look it up.
On the podium.
I thought you were talking the organization that Wild Onion is affiliated with. So
so my point is that it would have been nice, because there was some newcomers there, like myself and others, if we knew exactly what this organization was.
Right.
And Chris is an awesome guy. He's fantastic. I wish it was a little bit of an introduction to
kind of why I wanted to do this, because people will show up. There's a ritual. Not everybody's familiar with Druidic rituals or ADF based versus they might be only really familiar with Wiccan, or like we've got voodoo practitioners who have led ceremonies there too, and some people have no idea, like, well, that was beautiful, but what was it based in? And there's more than enough people that are going to be able to explain some of those, and that's why I want to get in contact with them and start doing some, interviews and videos like this, so that people in the community who have maybe seen some of these people at some of the functions but don't really know their roles or what their organization is, so that we can have the introduction, help bridge the gap between the people and some of those that are, holding these spaces for them.
And you're really in two different worlds, though, that Celtic pagan world and in the Native American world. And I love that they brought you in, and you're part of their family.
Been lucky,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of that philosophy is that we're all related, and and to be brought in. I started off just kind of, that guy, hey, what do I do here? Oh,
Yeah.
you know, we're gonna have a feast afterwards. We're gonna, this is, how we do this. Someone would explain, the ceremony and everything to me, and unfortunately, sometimes I can't even explain. It's like you did recently. It's like you just have to experience it for yourself.
Yeah.
Try it twice. The first time you're stepping in, you have absolutely no idea what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
The second time, you have a little more idea, so you might be able to focus on your intention a little bit better.
Yeah.
So, in a lot of different ceremonies, in a lot of different places, are totally different.
Yeah.
What they're meant to bring forth, the logistics and everything of them, and having walked with those people for the last 10 years, and being welcomed by them and given a role, during certain things, and a duty, that not only to myself, creator, but mainly to the people, is very honoring and also very humbling.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be really hard work, I mean, we always talk, sometimes people, they want something, but they're not willing to do the work.
Yeah.
And the work's not always pretty, and sometimes you got to do it in the dark.
I think you touch on something that's really important, that spirituality, no matter what type of path it is,
Mhm.
at the core, you could have these transcendental, beautiful experiences, and you might not even totally understand the dogmatic portion of it, or the all the theology,
Mhm.
but the experience itself, it transcends all of the other
Definitely.
noise that takes place.
I've got
You know,
experiences from 2-3 years ago that I still haven't completely deciphered.
yeah,
At times it's like you download information, and sometimes you can spend a lifetime trying to decipher it. Sometimes things hit you like a 2x4 in
Yeah.
the back of the head.
Yeah.
Other times you got to pay more attention. So
many years ago I went to a voodoo ceremony,
okay,
and I wasn't even trying to be a practitioner. I'm not a practitioner. I don't really, how do I say this? I don't feel the need to be part of that community. But when I went to this ceremony, it was powerful.
beautiful things. Definitely.
Yeah. And like
Definitely.
I felt something there. And I think a lot of people could confuse that with, oh, you felt it because that is the quote unquote right path. But it's like, well, no, but in spirituality, there is these transcendental
Of course.
tidbits that happen.
As a young person, I felt that in the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
As I moved on, I actually down here on 53, there, I don't know if it's open to the public anymore since COVID, but there is the Buddhist Progress Society. And before COVID, I used to go out there every other Tuesday night. They had it open, and they would teach you their way of meditating. And the third time I went, I nailed it. And something was just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I understand what this means now. And I haven't been back since COVID, and I don't know if they're open or they do that anymore. But it was like the most beautiful thing. Learning some, it was meditational movements, almost like Tai Chi kind of things that I'm not really familiar with. But, the last 40 minutes, they sat you on a pew, and you sat lotus position on a block. And it was like, man, the first 2 times I couldn't get it. The third time it was like, it worked, So
And when it does, it doesn't even matter what faith it is. It's just the experience itself.
No,
Mike is our resident Catholic.
Okay.
Mike, have you had like an experience like that in your Catholic faith? Have you ever like some epiphany where like, oh, this is like beyond any, like within Catholicism? Have you experienced anything transcendental like that? Maybe
Actually, no. I
Really?
don't think I ever have. No.
No, like
But
during
I've
prayer
had,
or anything? No.
if I have, it's completely out of my
Fleeting,
memory.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I think like, wow, I'm in this space for a reason,
You're right.
Like
yeah.
I work for a religious company. It's, to me, that's like, there's a reason why I'm there, I guess.
Sure. But you feel some connection to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Um,
I just don't think I've ever had any experience like that, at least yet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. At least, yeah, because it could happen.
Mm-hmm.
It could happen at any time.
Definitely.
To be honest,
Definitely.
you know, and I've had it in a couple different locations that I've been in, a couple different groups I've you know, been part of. Orthodox churches. There's something about Orthodox churches that are just beautiful. I know Rob had a transcendental experience at an Orthodox church just a couple months ago. Remember? Go ahead.
I'll try to quickly condense it, but yeah, we went to an Egypt Fest that was hosted by an Orthodox church, and when Jack and I walked into the church, they were giving tours. We went in before the team actually went. It doesn't matter, but we were in there alone for a little bit, and when we walked in, I actually remember, and I told Mike about this dream a week before. I had a dream where Jack and I were in a church. It was very tan. And it looked like an Orthodox church, but it was, again, like tan. And I was like, well, the Orthodox churches I've been to, they're bluish, because I went to, like, Greek Orthodox. Not growing up, but just I visited them. Oh, is that good?
Get closer to the mic, yeah.
Is that good? So I didn't know, what was it, a Coptic Orthodox
Yeah,
church?
Coptic
I didn't
Orthodox,
know they were they had a different aesthetic.
Yeah.
And when I walked in, I was like, oh, dude, this is exactly, like, just a week prior, I had this weird dream where we were in this church. We were alone, and then eventually a couple guys and more people showed up, and something was going on outside. Well, we were there. Eventually more people showed up, and there was an event going on outside. But then I was like, well, you know, it's just a coincidence, because there was another part of the dream where I saw the outside of the church, and it did not look like this church. It turned out they were touring two different churches, and they had just taken over the Lutheran church next door, and it looked like what I saw.
Wow.
So
yeah, you know, it's thanks. It's things like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like you know, my fantasy of a utopia, right, is that like there's no dogma, there's just spirituality, you know, because I think that's the core of it. You know, but that's just obviously not the world we live in, but you know,
no, it's not.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, especially with older traditions, you know, when it comes to older churches, older paths, older journeys, you know, neo-paganism in the U.S. of all kinds is kind of like the way the Christian church has changed. It'll split off. Oh, well, we like all this, but this needs to be a little different. So we're going to offshoot and do this. And you know, I mean, even over the course of the last 20 to 30 years, all of the different neo-pagan organizations that have erupted here in the United States, it's nothing like it was back in the late 70s, early 80s, you know, when, you know, some of the initial communities started to blossom. You know, with some older communities, there's still things that are being practiced like pretty close to the same way as they were almost 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing to be able to experience if you ever get the chance to, which you have, you know, at least once, you know, and I saw recently you got to go to your first powwow. Was that your first powwow?
Oh, that was my second powwow.
Oh, okay. So you've been to powwow before. Yeah. Powwows are fun. That's a little more of a social gathering, less ceremony.
It was a lot of fun.
Definitely a good time.
Yeah.
Did you get any fry bread?
No.
Oh, man. You go to a powwow, you can't leave without getting a piece of fry bread, man.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's
see,
you know,
I messed up.
Some people, it's like 50-50. Some people are like, I don't want anything to do with it. Some people are like, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Basically, with certain communities, when they were forced to live on reservations and given stipends of food and commodities and stuff by the government, they had to learn how to make something to survive. So some people view it as a food of that shows resilience of certain communities. You know, others, you know, they don't like it because it reminds them of what was done to them by, you know, this country. And you know, with the, you know, the way everything's going in this country as of recently, The theme of this year's Greater Chicagoland Pagan Pride was reflections of revolution.
Yeah. What kind of bread was that called?
Fry bread.
Fry bread.
Fry
right.
bread. It's an unleavened bread
Oh,
that
I
is
had
just
that.
deep fried.
I had a hot dog. Does
You had
that
a
count?
hot dog? No, it doesn't.
Okay.
It's not
All
the
right.
same. It's definitely not the same. But with just the way everything's going, like we're at a point where we need to stick together, and unfortunately, there's so many things in this world that are creating divides between people of all kinds. I've been praying for the world to start healing itself a little bit more, not just the earth, but humanity. We're kind of losing touch with all of our own human sides. And my thought process is spirituality minus the dogma kind of helps bring us to the core of where we need to be.
Yeah.
To understand ourselves enough so that we can understand others better.
Well, that's why that's why things like the World Parliament of Religions is important.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they don't do a lot of marketing. They don't do good marketing, I should say. And I think they need to work on that.
Unfortunately, a lot of things like that cost money, and when you're a nonprofit organization, sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah.
I definitely understand that, having worked with quite a few nonprofits. Sometimes again, like everybody wants to see this or let's do that, and getting the volunteers to help, getting enough to market. Sometimes it's simple enough as people donating their time and their abilities. I work at a print place, I can make you so many copies of this. And not everybody can give money, and unfortunately that's kind of the world we live in. Is everything costs something, and I've gotten with like some of the communities I belong to, I might not always be able to give a whole lot of money, but I'll be the first one there and one of the last ones to leave.
Yeah.
I'll spend my energy, and I'll do what I can so that the other people can have what they need from the event, the ceremony, and some communities, hey, you don't have $50 to give. That's fine. Can you help us set up some tables? Can you help us break down? Let's load this on a truck. Help us cut some wood.
But to your point, that's why a lot of these organizations fall apart, because there's not enough money, and that sometimes you need money.
You do. To
keep afloat. And, oftentimes it's hard to get volunteers for things if they're only volunteering, so it's a shame. It's like, money is its own religion,
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So you went through this whole journey in your 20s, and it seems like you really never fell off of it, because you're still doing it.
I can't say I fell off of it.
Right.
There were times where it was paused more than others due to life things, becoming a father, work, moving, like typical life stuff. There were segments where, it was just me outside during cross-quarter days and like not really looking for community. I was married for X amount of time, had family, I couldn't always go out and do that stuff, or look for those things because, I had other priorities, and unfortunately that happens with a lot of people too. I know people that I started walking some of my journeys on. I haven't seen them in years, but they might pop back up every couple of years.
Yeah.
Hey, I haven't seen you, and it's like, you just circle back around like nothing ever changed, or nothing happened in between. For me, I had a segment of time in my adult life where things weren't all good. I had a lot of depression. I had, grown folks problem, mental health things. And, for a while I was drinking too much, and that takes its toll on other parts of your life, so being able to take things moderately or become sober and being able to focus, on other parts of life. I've been able to further my career. I've been able to, focus a little more on helping communities out, because I'm not struggling in these places like I used to be, because I felt something was missing.
What do you think helped you out with that? What helped you out with the drinking, with the mental illness?
having a support system. For me, a decent chunk of my adult life, I was an introvert. I always felt like a black sheep. I was different. I play with spiders and, like.
But didn't we all?
No, not everyone. No. But there were times where, I somehow fell into places where, it worked for me and I felt supported. And it wasn't necessarily because I needed so much help. It was just because I needed a place to feel like I could just be me. Some of the people I've got in my life now are some of the best friends I've ever had. They would give me not only the shirt, but probably the skin off their back. And some of them have, and it's just, I'm blessed, and when you come from a space where you feel that, it's a lot easier to be able to offer that to others so that they can feel the same way,
right.
In the beginning of my journey, I was in a lot of spaces where it was just like, oh, he's the newbie. He doesn't know a whole lot.
Yeah.
There wasn't always people willing to teach you things or, offer advice, or something like that, where it seems, at least for me in the last 10 to 15 years, that's opened up quite a bit more. And I've found some of the right people to have in my life that were willing to offer stuff like that. And I do it in return for them as well. It's what friendship and community and family is about. I've got so many people in my life. I don't even call most of my friends buddy, friend, whatever. Like what I call you, I come and I call you brother, like the philosophy I carry now is that we're all related. I don't know what the next person's going through. They don't know what I'm going through.
Well, when you and I met, we really clicked right away.
Yeah.
Like there was definitely something there. And, so yeah, I do feel close to you in that way, because it's like you're a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a
Kindred spirit.
Kindred spirit.
There you go.
Yes,
There you
thank
go.
you.
Yeah.
I knew we would find it.
Well, so many people, like, there's a line, I don't listen to country music, but like one of the lines that sticks to me is an intro from a song that one of my Army buddies shared with me a long time ago. It's one of the only few country songs I like, and that was Chris Ledoux, This Cowboy's Hat. And it was, just him talking in the beginning of the song. And it's like, there's so many different types of people in the world. If they ever sat down to sit and talk, they would eventually end up realizing they have so much in common.
Oh, yeah.
And nowadays, and even in the past, it seems like, sometimes we focus on the differences and not look to find the commonalities, like, oh, well, they're different because of this, that, or the other. Not like, hey, look, that dude's over there barbecuing. I like barbecuing too, You're just focused on the way he's dressed or something else that turns you off about it, instead of, crossing that gap, having that conversation, like starting, not everybody's good at being extroverted like that. And I understand that as well, so everyone's a little bit different, and there's so many parts of that puzzle that come into play.
I've always felt that way. I've always felt that if we could just like get to know somebody who we disagree with, we would find so much commonality. Even extremist people, whether they're into KKK or neo-Nazis, I think you could find a connection with anybody.
Possibly.
You can. Yeah. You can. Sure, they have these set of beliefs that you might not agree with.
Right.
But like they are human, and
Yep.
they have families, and they have jobs, and they have a sense of humor. Like if we could just talk to people, without yelling and fighting, like we're gonna find common ground. Or people of different religions.
Yeah.
These extremist groups, and I think we could just get along. There are languages. There are languages that are cross-cultural, like music, like arts, like spirituality. That's why I said earlier, we could just get rid of the dogma, which I know is not realistic, but if you could just get rid of dogma and look at the spirituality, you could find common ground.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny you brought that up. One of the things I went to this year was a week-long thing we do every year out in another state. And, one of the people in charge was like, hey, during your time here with what we're doing, find that one person that kind of tweaked that one nerve for you. Take the time and talk with them, sit with them a bit.
Yeah.
And find out, and I did that. The couple years I had gone to this, there was this one guy that I was like, I could do without, whatever.
Yeah.
And I realized I didn't know him all that well, and after talking for a while, granted we're a couple 100 miles away, we're talking. I found out he's from 20 minutes away from me.
Oh, nice.
So we live out here in the suburbs,
Yeah.
and he ended up giving me something to use for that week that meant the world to me, and I still have it, and being able to connect with someone that, last year when I met this guy, I was like, I don't know, he was like abrasive, and I was just not a fan, and I was like, whatever. And sitting with him, talking, getting to know the other half, you know, and before I knew it, all of a sudden I got part of the things I need for what I got during that whole thing.
Yeah.
And, I made another friend, another relative, so
Yeah.
it's good philosophy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. So it's not about, concluding with you guys agreeing with each other. It's about recognizing each other's humanity.
Definitely. Most definitely.
So, yeah. And, and you and I both swim in these different spiritual circles, and we come across, for lack of a better term, a lot of fake spirituality. Yeah. And you have to interact with people that have these, fake spirituality. Like they talk about love and light and patience and second chances, but they're over here doing these, backward things, and you and I need to, what's the word? We need to be able to navigate that kind of thing, and a lot of people are not good at navigating that kind of thing. And the other side of their humanity, their baser side of humanity, comes out when they have to deal with that, because these people, they're psychic vampires, and I'm sure you've had a lot of experiences with that.
Oh yeah. It's honestly taken a long time for me to even trust my own intuition. Yeah. But now, I turned 51 last year, and I thought,
me too,
I still was not a good judge of people's characters, because
sure.
I've had people dupe me, in one way or another, and it's like, man, I feel so stupid. I'm 45 years old and I'm still falling for the same garbage, but you can't blame yourself either. The last couple times when I trusted my gut, I was 110% correct. And, I'm going to make a mistake later on down the line. We're all human, but understanding, like having interacted with enough people, sometimes you can just tell, when the first couple of words come out, or how those words come out. Not always what's actually being said, but how it is.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like we were just talking when you and I first started talking, there was a third person there with us. Absolutely wonderful soul.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on with them right now, but the time I got to have with them and connect, just being people and as, how can I put it? You have to embrace the darkness and the light to find balance, and life and situations like that can be tumultuous or messy, and especially when it's in a situation trying to help not only yourself but someone else kind of navigate through what we're talking about. How do I tell the difference between who's like the real deal, who's just kind of telling something, and it took me quite a few moons to start being able to read through people's stuff when it comes to some of the things that we've seen, like in communities.
Yeah. Because the problem is twofold. There's outright frauds, which is more rare.
Right.
And then there's just people that are just really they're not, how do I say this? They're not doing it the right way, for lack of, that's not even the right way to word it. They're not honest about what they're doing. And that's not the fraudulent part. It's just they're not honest about their spirituality, about their own honesty, about their wants to better themselves and their want to better those around them. They're not honest about it. And that's what's cause of psychic vampirism. Because I think when people think about psychic vampirism, they only think about the fraudulent nature. They don't realize that there's others that think that they're doing good, but they're actually not.
Right. And it doesn't always have to be fraudulent. It doesn't have to be like toxic or hurtful, but we've all had those people that it's just like, I can't deal with this right now. You try your best to help, but one of the biggest lessons I've learned in the course of the last 10 years on this part of the journey that I'm on right now, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Don't never be afraid of setting a boundary if it protects you.
Yeah.
That's it. And I've had to do that quite a few times. I've pissed some people off, but it's like, hey, I had to do it,
And there's a way to do it too.
There
because
is.
You could be just a jerk about it and be like, the heck with you, I'm going my own way. There's a way to segue into that,
Having some couth and, being able to, like we were talking before the camera went on, like with me, like, I forgot about something, I pulled that one a couple of times. Like I would really like to finish this, but there's tactics, and I've learned quite a few of them. And, I think, over the course of the few years, I really feel that at this point in my life, on my journey, I am attracting a whole lot more genuine people.
Yeah.
And it feels really good to be able to start having conversations with people, and then all of a sudden we're focusing on, like we just said, commonalities, like 10 years ago it was like, oh, well, that's not what I am into. That's not what, I don't like that food. Like I like this, and it's just like being able to kind of turn that, well, what I like, and well, what do you like? Turn it into a question. Find out. Oh, well, I'm not big on Brussels sprouts, but you're talking sushi. Now you're talking my game. Finding commonality is not as hard as it seems. Even
It's
like
not,
you said, with people that you feel are on the total end of the spectrum from you. You sit and talk for a couple of minutes. You might be really surprised on what you find out about them.
Yeah, and just from personal experience, I feel like there are people that I know that I could even call friends that, like, spiritually, it's like, oh man, you're in a dark place, but I could still be friends with them. But it's one of those things I have to be careful because I could set them off, Yeah. So there's a lot of that. I think people don't realize that, and obviously we haven't died and come back, but the other side is it could be a treacherous place as well. I mean, when we think about death, we always think about the lights and seeing deceased loved ones, but any spirituality, when you go deep enough, will tell you need to be careful on the other side. Because these things, they latch on to people that are living and they influence them.
They definitely can.
And I feel like I've seen a lot of that. Can you talk closer to the mic?
Sorry. Probably 7 or 8 years ago, I lived in a place down south that was built on top of a depleted coal mine that is pretty much empty except for the quartz. They didn't mine the quartz because it wasn't worth anything.
Right.
So I lived on top of this echo chamber filled with crystals.
Wow.
Right. And a partner of mine, girl I was dating, had told me at one point that there was a shadow figure she had seen in the place, right? Like apparition type. I was like, okay, you know, like, I mean, I had at that point in my life, I had seen things that I couldn't explain. I didn't see that, you know, and I was living there all the time, you know, and it was just like, okay, she told me, it told her, get out. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. Like I've been living here 2.5, 3 years, and I've not had any experiences like that. One day I was sitting in my living room looking down the hallway, which was like wide galley kitchen. And I saw something walking towards me and it just dissipated. And I was like, okay, well, what was that? So over time, as I started practicing more and more things in that place, as I was learning, I never saw that again. The only other like shadowy thing from the other side that I had seen there anymore was a little 4-legged thing. And it used to greet me. Like if I would come home at night and the kitchen light was on, as soon as I walked in, I could literally see something like probably about the size of a Cocker Spaniel. And it would just dissipate. Like I could see it coming through the kitchen and then it was gone. Like a little woof like of whatever, smoke, whatever. And that's where I lived. Right. And everybody told me all the stories about this K mine or whatever. This was down in Braidwood, Illinois. And or not Braidwood, Godley.
Okay.
The place I lived on, it was 4 separate apartments. I started talking to my neighbors. They started hearing footsteps on the roof. And I'm like, no, you can't hear nothing. Yeah, nothing. No, you're good. There's nothing up there.
Yeah.
Literally 2 nights later, I started hearing the same thing. You know, I had seen a few things like that made me question, you know, what's that? Is that something like you had mentioned from the other side trying to come through? I really didn't have a huge grasp on much paranormal activity stuff back then. I thought it was just something I saw in a movie. I'd seen a couple things, couldn't explain them, chalked it up to I must have just seen something, you know, as my mind playing tricks on me, you know, which is how I felt. Over time, I've come to completely accept that I know I've seen things that were not of this plane. I've never had, you know, some people say they've seen something and they have this completely ominous feeling, like cold, like a chill went through them. I've never had that. Anytime I've had those experiences, I've felt completely like calm, like almost at peace-ish, you know? So I don't know if I'm just being visited by things that are less malevolent than what others see, or my energy just reacts with them differently.
You know, I have a theory, and it's only a theory. You know, obviously I don't know for sure, but like oftentimes people will have a ghostly experience and they'll describe feelings of dread, but it's like, well, what if it's only feelings of dread because it's being filtered through them and they're going through something themselves, and these experiences are filtered through whoever is experiencing.
It makes perfect sense.
You know, there have been experiments in labs where they will produce a static electricity at, you know, certain parts of the brain, where like certain parts will be lit up and all of a sudden feelings of dread will come. So what if it's not an entity that's malevolent? What if it's just their
electromagnetic field?
Yeah, something like that. Something is lighting up certain parts of the mind.
Perfect sense. The more and more that we understand about neurology and you know, electromagnetic effects on the brain and other things, like anything's possible. Yeah. You know, I'm not by any means like a neuroscientist or whatever, but you know, some of the things that, you know, I go down all these rabbit holes all the time, man. So I've seen some things that, you know, documentary that I'll watch for an hour and be completely enthralled. Like, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Then another one I watch for 10 minutes and it's like, this guy's a crackpot.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
wow, okay, I need to find something else. So I'm pretty open-minded to hearing some of these theories. I have a tendency to still view myself a bit of a skeptic when it comes to certain things. Like this, the interaction between our own brains electronically with entities, stuff like that. I really don't know what I believe,
Okay.
I know that there's other things there. I don't know how my mind truly perceives them, So I try to look at that kind of subjective. How do I feel when this happens? What's the situation? I'm analytical and logical. I try, and that's the human mind sometimes. Sometimes you just can't explain something and you just have to move on and accept that what happened was how it happened, and then there's other things that I know for a fact, and just everybody's perspective and opinions on things are going to differ sometimes. Cryptids, there's some that I know that are there. As far as some of the other worldly stuff, I'm not so sure about.
Why are you so sure about the cryptids?
Because I've seen some things.
Oh, have you?
That I know were not critters that
Oh, here we go.
are typical.
Tell me a story.
Oh, man.
Oh,
some
yeah.
stories. This was my first encounter with a cryptid. I'm still not 100% sure what it may have been.
Yeah.
This was in Greenridge National Park. It was like on the border of Maryland and West Virginia.
Okay.
When I was a young man, when I was in the military, I used to camp there with some people. I went out looking for, kindling, stuff like that for, to start a fire. We had firewood, but we needed the little bits, and wandering around, I heard something. I kind of looked over. I thought I saw something moving out of the corner of my eyes. Nothing, I looked back a couple times, and literally about 20 yards right next to a tree. Just sitting there looking at me. And probably about 5 or 6 foot tall, human sized. It wasn't huge or tiny.
Yeah.
Either reddish or brownish, red brown, depending on the lighting of it was like late afternoon, so the sun was kind of at a different angle, and it saw me, and it ducked back behind the tree, and I didn't see it after that. I didn't see striding or it walking or whatever, but it was an upright creature that was mostly hairy. Side of its head and neck were flesh, dark flesh. I don't think it was an upright quadrupedal animal, just because of it stood upright like a hominid. Sure. It wasn't big enough to be considered like Sasquatch or anything, but I mean, anything's possible. I mean, that area I was in, it was a huge park, not like some of our little things around here. Yeah. I saw my first mountain lion there.
Oh,
like
nice.
A couple hours later, like there was a decent amount of wildlife, coyotes and
I'm gonna tilt this a little bit. I'm gonna tilt it. So.
Oh, sorry.
How are we with the
You good
mics?
with sound?
We're good. Okay. How are we with time?
We're at an hour and 13.
Okay.
Wow, we're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw something slip back behind the tree, and it when it was gone. It didn't come out the other side of the tree. Nothing. It just ducked back.
You didn't want to go closer to it?
I did not. I was petrified. I will tell you that. I was scared shitless. Yeah. And I didn't know what to do.
Did you tell anybody?
One or two people, that's.
Did they take you seriously?
No.
No. Yeah.
But I know what I saw. I was a veterinary technician for a long time. I know animals.
Yeah.
I've raised dogs, cats, been around livestock. This was not anything like I had seen before, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Almost kind of like that, but darker, you know. But
Okay.
smaller though. It wasn't. Everybody always talks about when they see it's 8 feet tall, whatever. No, was it young? I don't know.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
could have been
but,
juvenile.
but it just tucked away, and there was no, no fancy footage like you see them, swinging arms and all that. No, it was just, and it was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It still gives me chills thinking about it. Like I can hardly focus remembering it. Just, I mean, I was a grown man. I was in the military, and I almost like felt like I was going to piss myself because I had no idea what the hell was. That was yeah.
Has that been your only experience like that?
No, it hasn't. The other I really don't talk about.
Okay.
Maybe off camera we can talk about that one.
All right. You want to give us a snippet?
It's a little different.
Want to get a little summary?
It was a different creature.
Okay.
Pretty small. That was in Indiana.
Indiana.
While camping.
Okay.
Going through the grass.
But you've had experiences.
I have.
Yeah.
Like not with necessarily otherworldly so much, but with crypty type things.
Sure.
Have you heard about how the Mothman's showing up at O'Hare?
Allegedly.
Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Allegedly, yeah. I mean, I was watching something about Pleasant Prairie before I came over. So
Pleasant Prairie?
Yeah, where the Mothman in West Virginia.
Oh, Point Pleasant.
Or Point Pleasant,
yes.
Yeah. I'm thinking Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I go up that way all
Close
the time.
enough.
So I was thinking Pleasant Prairie.
Yeah. I tend to be a little skeptical about the
Cryptids?
Chicago. No.
About
the Chicago Mothman
yeah,
ones. No, not cryptids though. I believe
there's been a couple stories that it was just like, what?
Yeah.
He was hanging out over by the air traffic control.
Yeah, he was hanging out everywhere. Yeah.
There's there's some footage from the 70s that I can't remember the guy's name, Huffer or something. He supposedly filmed in Illinois somewhere what he thought was a Thunderbird. And it's old footage. There's absolutely no way to really measure.
You know this one, right?
How big this is, because it's a big bird next to a tree. To me, it kind of looked like a turkey vulture. I mean, I've heard some stories, about
right.
Thunderbirds and whatnot, but
yeah, that footage. I know footage you're talking about. Rob and I have seen it. It's
like old gray, black and white,
right,
and it's just a bird kind of hopping out of a tree, spreading its wings, and it's like, I mean, we didn't have AI back then like we do now, but how can you scale? Where was that tree?
Right, exactly.
Like, was it actually in that tree, or is it in another tree behind it, 20 yards away, or in front of it? So, yeah, I've heard some pretty interesting stories. Been told some legends and some tales with regards to some of the things that we considered cryptids that are legends and actual teachings and everything of some of the people from Turtle Island, from this continent. Pretty interesting stuff, one of the most popular ones has a tendency to be multidimensional, like opening rifts in time and space and just kind of dipping in and out whenever they want to. They're also in some of the teachings, the symbol for honesty, in some of the teachings, it's like, you have to be honest. You got to be honest with yourself before you can be honest with anyone.
Yeah. And that's how they appear when you're true to yourself, allegedly, Yeah. So what are you working on right now?
Right now,
yeah. Or upcoming. What do you got going on?
Winter, man. This is hermit mode.
This is where you hibernate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Typically for me, in pagan communities, we're probably going to have maybe some fundraisers happening in the springtime, hopefully some collaborative things with a center and some organizations to group together where, maybe we can have some extra funds for Greater Chicagoland Pagan Pride. We were thinking about a mini spring or summer fest, maybe somewhere out here in the suburbs instead of in Chicago. vendors, readers, the typical kind of things, maybe some music even too.
Yeah.
So
don't do June 13th. That's my convention.
June 13th? No. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's my convention. And then the next weekend, I'm actually hosting another event for somebody else. So don't do that one either.
Okay. June. That's 13 and 20 something.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah.
13. June 21. That's summer solstice.
Yeah.
I'm always busy. Solstices and equinoxes, I'm usually doing ceremony.
Yeah.
So, but that's, for me, some of the ceremonies I attend and help, the facilitator with, those are monthly. So, I mean, at least once a month, I'm lending my energy, for people to pray and purify like that. So spring, probably something's going to start coming up in the works with regards to like pagan pride. Summertime, we typically have a large thing that we do out in Indiana. That's like a week-long thing that a lot of us, we got people who come from the Netherlands. We got people who come from Georgia, like from all over Pennsylvania to come so that we can all be together and do this thing for all of our community, other communities in the world. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's changed my life. Fall is, typically when we start having like our pagan prides, and winter is hermit mode. I'm ready. It's been a busy year.
Sure.
This last year I've been studying for my certification with my career. So I'm hoping to take some exams.
Like your day job,
those.
you mean?
Yeah, my day job. I manufacture implant based like dental appliances.
Okay.
So there's a science to it, and I've been learning that. I've been doing that probably about the last 24 years.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And yeah, so there's a lot entailed with that as far as book knowledge and multiple tests,
Right.
Basically national boards to take. And then once that's over, I'm hopefully not doing anything until spring, other than, maybe some ceremonies here and there, getting what I need for me. Learning some new things, from some of my
that's always important,
people.
right? Yeah.
So yeah.
Where could people find you? Where could they meet up with you?
I mean, I'm sure you're probably going to tag me in this video, right?
Yeah.
So, you can always reach out via Facebook. I think I've got an Instagram, not always on there. I got a TikTok. I think I've posted. My last videos on TikTok was did you see the protesters we had at Pagan Pride?
I did hear about that.
That was definitely something else.
It's a good time.
The social media, the Facebook,
Facebook is probably the best.
Facebook's probably the best.
Yeah.
I don't always give out my phone number or emails or whatever because we've all got that one email that is just all nothing but all the stuff you don't want to read anyway. So, but yeah, socials is probably best, either Instagram or Facebook. I'm pretty easy to find.
Well, if anybody wants to reach out, to you, you are very knowledgeable in various types of spirituality. You've ran a lot of different groups, drumming circles, right?
I never
really
ran a drum circle. No. I have.
Well, you will now. I was predicting what you're going to do.
Will I now?
Yep. Next year you're doing a drum circle. But yeah, you've done a lot, so yeah, you are a good guy to reach out to for a lot of questions.
I appreciate being here, man.
So yeah, and I appreciate you coming. Thank you. So thanks, man.
Yeah, everybody have a great one. Stay warm and have a wonderful whatever you celebrate this year.
That's right. Saturnalia,
Yule, Christmas, whatever it is. Just be joyful.
Krampus night,
and just spending time with you and yours, and eat, drink, and be merry.
Yeah, thanks,
brother.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being here or having me here.
Yeah,
and being here.